Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will make this brief. I want to first of all thank all the witnesses for the testimony, for the service, and for all you've done to strengthen and maintain this program. My question, General Alexander, is, I guess, to you and also perhaps to Mr. Joyce. Several times in your testimony you referenced 9/11 and how, and I recall after September 11th, there was almost a loud challenge to the intelligence community to do a better job of connecting the dots, be more aggressive, be more forward-thinking, try to anticipate what's going to happen, think outside the box, all those cliches we heard at the time. And as I see it, this is a very legitimate and legal response to that request. I would ask you, General Alexander, both you and Mr. Joyce, I believe, referenced the case after September 11th, where there was phone intercepts from Yemen, which enabled you to foil the New York Stock Exchange plot. It's also my understanding that prior to 9/11, there was phone messages from Yemen which you did not have the capacity to follow through on, which perhaps could have prevented the 9/11 attack. Could either General Alexander or Mr. Joyce or both of you explain how the attack could have been prevented, or if you believe it could have been prevented?
I don't know, Congressman, if the attack could have been prevented. What I can tell you is that is a tool that was not available to us at the time of 9/11. So when there was actually a call made from a known terrorist in Yemen to Khalid Mihdhar in San Diego, we did not have that tool or capability to track that call. Now, things may have been different, and we will never know that, unfortunately. So that is the tool that we're talking about today that we did not have at the time of 9/11. Moving forward, as you mentioned about the stock exchange, here we have a similar thing, except this was under, again, the 702 program, where NSA tipped to us that a known extremist in Yemen was talking or conversing with an individual inside the United States we later identified as Khalid Ouazani. And then we were able to go up on our legal authorities here in the United States on Ouazani, who was in Kansas City, and we're able to identify 2 additional co-conspirators. We found through electronic surveillance that they were actually in the initial stages of plotting to bomb the New York Stock Exchange. So to really summarize, as I mentioned before, all of these tools are important. And as Congressman Schiff mentioned, we should have this dialogue. We should all be looking for ways, as you said, thinking outside the box of how to do our business. But I sit here before you today humbly and say that these tools have helped us.
General Alexander?
Yeah, if I could. I think on the Mihdhar case, Mihdhar was the terrorist, the AQ terrorist from the 9/11 plot in California that was actually on American Airlines Flight 77 that crashed into the Pentagon. What we don't know, going back in time, is the phone call between Yemen and there, if we would have had the reasonable articulable suspicion standard, so we'd have to look at that. But assuming that we did, if we had the database that we have now with the business records FISA, and we searched on that Yemen number and saw it was talking to someone in California, we could have then tipped that to the FBI. Another step, and this is an assumption, but let me play this out because we will never be able to go all the way back and redo all the figures from 9/11, but this is why some of these programs were put in, was to help that. Ideally, going from Mihdhar, we would have been able to find the other teams, the other 3 teams in the United States, and or one in Germany or some other place. So the ability to use the metadata from the business record FISA would allow us, we believe, to see some. Now, so it's hypothetical. There are a lot of conditions that we could put on there. You'd have to have this right, you'd have to have the RAS right, but we didn't have that ability. We couldn't connect the dots because we didn't have the dots. And so I think what we've got here is that one additional capability, one more tool to help us work together as a team to stop future attacks. And as Sean has laid out, when you look at this, the New York City 2 and others, I think from my perspective, those would have been significant events for our nation. And so I think what we've jointly done with Congress is help set this program up correctly.
I was close, General, by saying in your opening statement you said that you'd rather be testifying here today on this issue rather than explaining why another 9/11 happened. So I want to thank you for your service in preventing another 9/11. And you mentioned the Zazi case, and I do have some very close familiar knowledge of that. And I want to thank all of you for the effort that was done to prevent that attack. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.